and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective, with pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Wednesday, November the 10th, Ian Cameron, Andrew McInnis, tea in hand to nail those vocal cords, and Terry Edelman. We've got him with us as well as a special guest here on the Wednesday edition of the show. He asked, knowing that we might be a little bit shorthanded today with the crew, so we obliged, and we've got Terry on a day where his Minnesota Wild are indeed in action tonight, taking on the Arizona Coyotes. 3 games on the Wednesday slate. We'll get to those in just a sec, but on these shorter cards, like a Wednesday or a Monday or a Friday, we like to look back on the night before in the NHL and some of the results. The one that stuck out to me was the Florida Panthers getting drilled by the New Jersey Devils 7-3 last night in a tough back-to-back spot for them, but unable to get the job done the first time all year. 2 losses in a row for the Florida Panthers, but give the New Jersey Devils credit. A solid performance from them and a great night offensively from Andreas Janssen, who had 2 goals in that game. PK Subban had a really nice goal to give them the lead, 4-3 late second period, and that goal seemed to take some wind out of the sails of the Florida Panthers. And we talked about how they had some defensive injuries, and they've also impacted in a negative fashion Spencer Knight, who's definitely had a tough couple of games in a row in net. The young phenom, the future of the Florida Panthers in net, has looked a little bit ordinary and human these last couple nights. But you know, we knew the Florida Panthers weren't going to go 82-0. Every team's going to go through some rough patches, have some bad games, and that was one of those for Florida last night in the 7-3 loss. Great win for Carolina, overtime win against Tampa by a score of 2-1. Really, that game was only close because of Vasilevsky. He was absolutely outstanding. Carolina with a 31-18 edge in shots on goal. So for me to have Carolina at the underdog price and see them get their just reward, it was very nice, that overtime win against Tampa Bay last night, 2-1. The Blues in a shootout over the Winnipeg Jets, 3-2. The Detroit Red Wings, and I had the over, so it pushed in that game, but I'm really frustrated I didn't bet Detroit either, knowing they had Stuart Skinner in net, and knowing that looked like a little bit of a flat spot for Edmonton last night. I mean, they're rolling, they're playing great hockey. I kind of didn't want to go against that, but it felt like a spot where, kind of like the Kings with the Leafs on Monday night, where, you know, you just don't have that urgency and you're not playing your game early, and you give that other team confidence. A good, young, improving team like Detroit, what the Leafs did against the Kings Monday night, and the Oilers did it last night against the Red Wings. And so a nice win for Detroit. Again, I didn't take my own advice last night. I said I'm going to be looking for Detroit in these spots where they're playing good teams, but the good team might look past them and not play their best. And, man, we saw that last night. Detroit was clearly the better team in that game, and they got the victory there. The San Jose Sharks 4-1 over Calgary. That was a frustrating result, too, to see what happened with the Flames in that game. They've had some performances where they've played well enough lately on home ice, but haven't won. And that game fits the mold with Dallas and Nashville. Vegas, more impressive stuff from the Golden Knights. 4-2 over Seattle. Brutal spot, too. First home game off a road trip. Still shorthanded, and still got a very nice win in that game against Seattle last night. Anaheim Ducks 3-2 in overtime against the Canucks to end a very disappointing homestand for the Canucks. They hope to have a better result with that homestand than they got. So now they got to go on the road, and that Vancouver schedule on the road coming up, it is tough. So it is very, very disconcerting for the Canucks fan that they had as much of a struggle on the homestand as they did. And there's one more that I wanted to mention. Oh, yeah, Chicago Blackhawks, 2-0 now for them under Derek King, the new head coach. And I was on Chicago in both of those games against Nashville, and last night a shootout victory against the Pittsburgh Penguins, 3-2. So improved play from Chicago after the coaching change, which is often something that we see. And Chicago getting that little boost and that little uptick, if you will, following the coaching change that took place over the weekend. We've got Andrew McInnis back with us. Again, he had a sore throat yesterday to the point where it was difficult for him to even be able to talk, which is why he wasn't on this show or any of the shows he does on a daily basis. But we're happy to have him persevering, playing through punishment, playing through injury, if you will. He's got his tea with him. Andrew, what did you think of last night?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you guys what I thought. People have been having trouble, betting the NHL and saying that it's been different. I'll tell you one thing: there's no lack of parity in this National Hockey League, and I love it. I love every single bit of it, and that's why we're fans of hockey. We love to bet on this sport, but that's one of the reasons why I think the four of us love this game is because there's that parity, and there's, any team could beat any team on any given night, and it's our job to find those different spots, but. That's what I learned last night, Ian, is that there's going to be those flat spots. There's going to be spots where certain teams overlook others. And really, that's the biggest thing I learned. The Devils playing well. The Kraken, I'm telling you guys, I've been saying this for a little while. I think on the road, they're going to be a complete different team. And Money Puck is a web that I use quite a bit. And Seattle is still number 2 ranked, power rated, as far as the advanced analytical numbers. That won't last. That's not going to last. And a lot of these numbers for them are going to start to go downhill quite a bit. And we're going to start to see some of these teams, fall and regress. I had Calgary last night in a combo with the Bruins. Calgary's going to start to regress as well. I mean, they had lots of great performances from their top guys. And all of a sudden, when they're not scoring, it's hurting that team quite a bit. Montreal, how the hell were they laying minus 150 yesterday? The Kings beat them just about a week before that. Kings are looking really well, really good. They've got, goaltending playing really well, just like Jimmy talked about on Monday. I think that right now we have to recognize that the books are hanging these prices based off kind of some preseason projections, and they haven't quite caught up to what's going on right now in the NHL. So I feel like that's a big thing to mention, because a lot of these lines we're seeing right now aren't really based on what's happening right now. They're based on what we might have thought coming into the season. So regression is definitely a thing, but we have to keep our eyes on what's going on right now.
Yeah, I had a different kind of regression last night. The consecutive winning day streak got snapped for me last night. And at the top of the list of frustration last night was Ottawa-Boston staying under the total. Very, very frustrating there. A 3-2 game early in the third period, and could not get that 6th goal across last night as the Bruins get the 3-2 win in that one. So that was frustrating to see that fall by that. That snapped the best bet streak. Best bet streak for me was at, I believe, 4 in a row, or 4-0-1, the last 5 going into last night with my best bets on the show. And unfortunately, it gets snapped with Boston and Ottawa staying under the total. And Andrew said, how could you lay the price with Montreal? And how could I fail to make LA an official play? I leaned to LA, but didn't bet it. So there's another one that was.
And how about that Ducks team, Ian? I talked about with you guys to start the year off.
Here they go. They're rolling. I didn't think the win streak would continue on the road because a lot of it was at home against weaker teams. I'll say this. I lost the Vancouver in regulation, but boy, we nailed some goal scorer props in that game on the show. We called JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, noting that he had only, 2 or 3 goals on 35 shots on goal, that eventually the puck was going to go in for him, and it did last night. That was the tying goal, shorthanded, for the Vancouver Canucks late in that game. So a couple of goal scorer props cashed for Vancouver in that game. So it wasn't all bad. Jimmy, thoughts on last night?
My thoughts on last night is a rough night for me. And the Florida Panthers burned me again. I was really surprised at that. And give credit to the Devils right now. You look at the Devils in the East and the Ducks in the West, 2 teams that at times have not looked like themselves and looked quite good and surprised us. So 2 teams to keep an eye on. It's not always going to be an easy win against them. In fact, they're getting the wins themselves. And we'll see. Like you talk about regression right now. Well, let's see how long those 2 teams can keep this going. But I'll give Anaheim a lot of credit. And to do it, too, in the same day of what happened with Bob Murray as well, just with that stress and outside noise was pretty impressive, too. Interesting situation there, too. We could get into that another time. But you mentioned that Bruins-Sens game. Guys, I didn't like that game for the Bruins. They woke out of their slumber. They were pretty asleep in the beginning of the game. They woke up later on. But that pesky Senators team, man, they stay within the goal. And, yeah, I needed that empty net, too. I wanted that 6 for the over-under. It just wasn't happening. So an interesting night across. I think great job by you identifying, Ian. I stayed away from it, too, because I didn't feel like it was a good spot for Edmonton. Great job identifying that, because Detroit's been known to halt some streaks against teams much more superior than them. So they've done a good job of kind of being that trap game so far this season.
Let me throw out something here on Detroit. They beat Edmonton last night. They beat Washington, I believe, a week and a half ago. And they absolutely had Tampa Bay dead to rights opening night. Like, I still won't forget that one. They were up, 6-3 at one point against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay came back and won in overtime 7-6. Detroit has shown up against the really good teams that have been on their schedule, and that is something you want to factor in. That moving forward, they're going to be the giant killers at times this year, and they've already shown some evidence of that. We're happy to have our resident Ice Guys Minnesota Wild fan club president Terry Edelman with us here on the show as a special guest here today. Terry, some thoughts on last night?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ian. Last night was pretty good. 8-5 night for me. I was happy to be on the Kings and the Ducks, and also had both my draw bets cash at Carolina and Tampa and St. Louis and Winnipeg. So I'm liking these draws. We seem to be having games go to overtime every night, it seems like. So I've been on the right side of these draws and hoping to keep it going.
Hats off to you, Terry, for those draw picks, man. They're not easy.
And boy, do they boost the bankroll too. If you cash a few of them, all of a sudden, your return on investment and your profit margin goes up big time when you cash a few of those. To answer the question in the chat from Jarek, Detroit's 11th right now in the National Hockey League in terms of profitability, 1.64 units. So they're profitable, not by a lot. I actually thought they'd be higher with some of the underdog wins they've had, but 11th right now. And they are plus units backing the Detroit Red Wings so far this season. So for a team that, it was tough times the last couple of years, that's impressive to see what we've seen from the Red Wings, especially when they've stepped up in class. All right, let's turn our attention to Wednesday night. We've got 3 games. We'll start with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Philadelphia Flyers. The Leafs minus 130, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Bounce back spot potentially for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, they're coming off the loss to the LA Kings on Monday night, 5-1. A game where they had a really, they just were not ready to match the LA Kings. LA Kings were, very aggressive early, on the puck, on the body, in the offensive zone, moving the puck around really well. And the Leafs had I'll be honest, we all kind of thought the Kings had a chance in that game. We had that informal poll that Andrew gave us on Monday's show about the biggest of the 3 big dogs that night, most likely upset. And we all kind of leaned Kings, and it came to fruition in that win. And my thinking was, as I've seen this from the Leafs for years, a couple of big wins against teams that they really cared about beating, Tampa Bay, Boston on Saturday night. And then if they all of a sudden play a Western Conference out-of-conference game, and they just didn't have that same urgency level from the beginning. And when you play a stingy team like the Kings, who can shut it down when they have a lead, and you get behind 2-0, like the Leafs did in the first period, you're going to have trouble regardless of who you're playing. And that's exactly what happened the other night. The Philadelphia Flyers, they haven't played since Saturday in a 2-1 win over the Washington Capitals, bouncing back after a loss prior to that to the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here in this game. It's been impressive because when you look at the Flyers and the way they've played at times, they've been without Ryan Ellis all year. He was supposed to be very, very a big part of this blue line and the improvement in it coming into this year. There are still some warning signs. If you look at the advanced numbers for the Flyers, they're still giving up, their expected goals against is near the bottom of the league, and you would think so. They've kind of gotten away with some things, even though when you look at their overall numbers defensively, they're not bad. A lot of the advanced numbers say they probably should be giving up more goals than they have so far this year. We'll see if that indeed happens tonight. I do like Toronto a little bit. The problem is they've had some tough times in Philadelphia. I know this has been quite often a very difficult place for the Leafs to win. I mean, you look at the last few meetings, and Philadelphia is 4-1 in the last 5 here in Philly, and the Leafs' only victory was, I believe, in a shootout. So it's not been an easy place for them to win here in this game. But I still think Toronto, I like their game. I think after the loss the other night, you'll see them play a lot better. It's a small bet for me, not a best bet, but I like Toronto a little bit here, minus 130. Andrew, any thoughts, Leafs and Flyers?
Excuse me. When I look at this game, I think that like we said, I thought it was kind of fun doing that little poll because, especially on short cards, it's kind of fun to try and figure out, hey, which dog's going to win. Turned out that night, 2 dogs won, but it was obviously a flat spot for the Maple Leafs, like you said, on Monday. Flyers haven't played since Saturday. I like the over 6 in this one. And I think that obviously it's not on purpose, but, unconsciously, this Maple Leafs team just gets up for some games more than others. And that's just what it's happened. And I think Sheldon Keefe is trying to preach consistency and bring in the same thing each game, especially defensively. But guys, I saw a pretty cool stat. I'm not sure if I can bring it up. I don't have it with me right now, but it was with the Montreal Canadiens. And this wasn't even for this year. This was for last year as well, talking about the amount of games they win when they score at least 3 goals. And it was phenomenal. It was just unbelievable. And it goes to show that these goaltenders aren't getting the support. I want to know a stat, the amount of games the Maple Leafs win when the big 3 don't score or the big 4 don't score. And I know all of you guys probably think that I just bash on the Leafs, but I said this a couple weeks ago, and I said it on Monday again. And I truthfully believe that. And I think tonight's a good spot for them. And talk about, loading up on some props. I might look at a Mitch Marner assist prop at -115. I might look at a Matthews power play point prop, at +120 tonight. Because I believe that 2 teams, I think, are number 1, rested, number 2, motivated. And I believe Philadelphia is going to be a much better team at home and in the city of brotherly love than they will be on the road. So Toronto coming off that, just a shitty loss for them, honestly, a pretty flat game. After beating 2 solid teams, they're going to want to get back in action. However, I just can't buy them winning in low-scoring fashion against the Flyers here. I think there's spots to bet on this Leafs team to go under and see some unders with them. Same for the Flyers, but with the rest for the Flyers, it really helps me out as well, playing at home. I like the line combos for them tonight as well. I look over 6 here.
All right, like an over 6 here with the Leafs and the Flyers for Andrew here in this one. Again, the Flyers, you got to give them some credit for the way. By the way, it's Jack Campbell and Carter Hart, the goalies tonight in this matchup. And John Tavares is a game time decision here for this game, dealing with an undisclosed injury, which is nothing new when you hear that term, undisclosed injury. It feels like it's becoming more and more difficult to find out the exact part of the body or the anatomy.
That helps with the over, I think, because John Tavares isn't only an offensive weapon, but he's actually a pretty good, defensive forward. So I feel like that might even help with my over a little bit.
Yeah, aside from the last goal of that the 4th goal that LA scored the other night, where he basically gave a beautiful assist right on the stick of the of the LA King forward for that 4-1 goal, which pretty much put the game. But generally, yes, he's a
and just like Proline King here in the live chat is saying, hats off to Jimmy with the Marner call. I'm going right back to the wave. And I think you just get better odds isolating the assists for him. Yep. He gets goals, but Jimmy, that price on the assist is just really good. Just -120 for him to get an assist. Good price.
And you wonder how long it's going to stay there. So take advantage of it while it's there. I'm going to jump on that as well, guys. And I'm also liking the Leafs to bounce back in this game. I think it's a good spot for them there, even though Philly can be tougher at home. This Leafs team has shown resilience after a loss. And I know that they had a setback there the other night, but it was just one of those spots that I think a lot of teams in their position would have fell victim to. So I like the direction overall that this team is headed, and I think they bounce back tonight.
Yeah, I think they'll be better tonight. Again, you're inside the conference now. You're playing a Philly team that, is playing some solid hockey so far. Although I'm really worried that the chickens are going to come home to roost at some point for the Flyers because, again, their advanced defensive numbers are ugly. They should be allowing more goals than they have so far. And you wonder if that starts to show up here tonight against Toronto and moving forward. That's going to be an interesting question. And by the way, I should point out about the Kings loss. It was a bad first period. The second and third period, the Leafs actually did pressure LA pretty well, and it was a good night in net for Quick. It was one of his better games. I think he was amped up to beat Campbell. Everyone was talking about, Campbell beating his former team, the LA Kings. Well, I think for Jonathan Quick, the mentor, he wanted to beat the pupil. He wanted to beat the student, Jack Campbell, and he played one of his best games I've seen Jonathan Quick play in a long time. So let's give him some credit too for that Kings victory the other night against the Leafs. Terry, did you bet this one, Leafs and Flyers?
Yeah, I'm on the draw. plus 320. And I'm going Flyers money line plus 110. I just like this Flyers team. I like how they're playing. They're at home. Carter Hart is always better at home. I think it's a close game. So I like both bets, the draw and Flyers. If I get one, I'm up money. So just need one of those. If I get both, that's awesome. But yeah, I like the draw and Flyers.
3 of the last 4 meetings have gone to a shootout. So there you go. Plays into your draw theory. That's like a soccer bet, by the way. Draw double chance, I believe they call it. Where you cash if the it's like Flyers draw double chance. That is, Flyers win, you cash, and even if the draw or they lose in overtime, but it goes to overtime or a shootout, you cash as well. So that's what that bet kind of reminds me of there. All right, next up we've got Nashville, Dallas. Dallas minus 150, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Dallas back home off a road trip that ended very, very poorly for them, losing 6-3 to the Vancouver Canucks on Sunday night. Before that, they beat Calgary in overtime, but definitely a rough stretch here for the Dallas Stars. 1-5 in their last 6 games. They've kind of struggled here. Rick Bowness is usually pretty reserved, calm, cool, collected. Not lately. He was already, called a timeout to really lambaste his team earlier this year. I remember in a game against Columbus, and now basically not thrilled with the penalties they're taking. The breakdowns they had defensively in that game, and also the penalty kill, which was hideous in the loss against the Canucks, and it's been hideous lately. The Dallas Stars, they've given up a grand total of 7, count them, 7 power play goals to the opponent in their last 4 games. I mean, that's just not great by any stretch of the imagination here for the Dallas Stars at their own end. They're trying to bounce back here, back home after that 3-game Western Canadian swing, but just not playing great hockey right now. Nashville on the other side, 5-2 in their last 7 games. The only losses were to Edmonton. No shame in that, of course, with the way the Oilers have played this year. And then they lost 2-1 in overtime against Chicago on Sunday night in the first game with Derek King as the head coach of the Blackhawks. So kind of walking into a situation where you knew you were probably going to get Chicago's full intensity, full focus, looking to win that first game under the new head coach. But look, Nashville, for a team that I was really thinking would be a fade, a bet against, they've definitely played better than I would think. But there's some indicators here that point to Dallas being extremely unlucky offensively. They have just had a boatload of chances. They've carried play in a lot of games, and they have just not had the offense to go with it here going into this game. Now, I'm keeping an eye on who's in net here for the Nashville Predators, because they play tomorrow night against the St. Louis Blues, which is, I think, probably the tougher opponent. Do they save UC Saros for Thursday night, and do they go with David Rittich tonight? If I see David Rittich in net, I'm going to like Dallas here, because I'm trying to make a case for Dallas. They kind of got, called out by Rick Bowness here after the end of that road trip and that loss to Vancouver, which ended it, which was ugly. I'd expect them to have a really strong, angry type of effort. And if they get to face David Rittich, I don't know if I'd want to back Dallas against Saros. Saros has been good, but you throw David Rittich into the fire tonight against what could be a very, very upset, fired up, desperate kind of Dallas Stars team. That could be trouble for Nashville, because, look, David Rittich just wasn't great last year. He wasn't great 2 years ago. We know he is good usually to give up a soft goal, at least one in the majority of his starts. So this is a wait and see for me. If we get Rittich in net tonight on the first of these back-to-back games for Nashville, I'll probably look at Dallas, and I'll probably take them in regulation at even money rather than the minus 145, minus 150 that's currently out there at the moment. So the lean is Dallas in regulation. It won't become a bet for me until we see confirmation if David Rittich's in net as opposed to Saros. Andrew, your thoughts here, Predators and Stars?
Yeah, I used to call him Big Save Davey, and then it became a joke when he wasn't making big saves
Big
anymore.
Civ Dave the last 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. I actually, pending goaltending, I lean towards the under here. And when I looked, I think it was, a week and a half ago, Ian gave me credit for calling the first over game of the season for Dallas. And then they went over a couple times in a row. And I feel like they're going to go back to that under style of play. It's pretty much their identity. It's what they do. It's how they win games. But let's be honest here. Talking about prices earlier in the show, how can anybody look at a team that opened up minus 150 when every game they win is by 1 goal and they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. How can anybody look at them minus 150 in this game? The thing is, Nashville's numbers are slowly regressing. Nashville was scoring goals from, practically behind the net and just absolutely stupid places on the ice. I mean, the goals they were scoring weren't nice. And I'm a big proponent of looking at some of these goals and saying, you know what, that's a hockey goal. But Nashville is bound to slow the horses down a little bit. And this Dallas team, they pretty much have proven that they can't play in high-scoring games. And they can't be successful in high-scoring games. So I feel like this one's a defensive battle along the boards. I'm on the under 5.5.
Both teams the last 10 games, equal amount of high-danger chances allowed, but Dallas has generated 14 more high-danger chances offensively. But right now, they're just having trouble finishing that off. So Nashville, they're playing with a little bit of hockey Russian roulette right now in terms of, the roulette wheels come up on their side these last few games. You're right. I've seen a couple weird goals from weird angles, tough angles, deflection goals. These are the kind of goals I'm seeing. Bad bounce. The puck just ends up on Forsberg's stick in that Calgary game. I remember that. And bam, it's in the net. I mean, just all kinds of these type of goals for Nashville. It's not like
Melissa's right. It's moving to a 5, Ian, but I think it should be a low-scoring game.
Well, it certainly will be if Rick Bowness has his way. He just called out this team's penalty kill, after the Vancouver loss, saying it's shit right now. It's not good enough. We got to improve it. We either have to improve the penalty kill or we just got to stop taking penalties, one or the other, because that's also been an issue. They've taken a lot of penalties. So that's a point of emphasis for Dallas coming into this game tonight. Stay out of the box, and if you do take a penalty, we got to improve this kill. So if you like the under, you like hearing that from a coach that, hey, we got to work on this. We got to fix this. And right now it's that ailing, struggling Dallas penalty kill that they're looking to fix.
To answer one question real quick in the live chat, there's Proline King says Seguin or Pavelski both to score. Both are plus 200. I'll throw it to Jimmy with this. I personally don't like to look at goal scoring props. I like to look at those assist props or point props with teams that don't score goals. It's like with the Montreal Canadiens, how could I ever bet a goal prop with these guys if they score 2 goals a game? You know what I mean? I like to bet goal scoring props with teams like Florida, Colorado, Tampa Bay, that actually put up goals. Like, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I mean,
I would. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ian.
No, there's definitely. I think there's some truth to that. That's good. You can always. That's the great thing about player props, and of course, DraftKings are sponsors here. We got tons of opportunities and options that are there for you in terms of goal scorer props. And I don't hate Seguin or Pavelski to score a goal tonight. In fact, those are the guys you've got to expect to score for you up front if you're the Dallas Stars and you're going to win this game tonight. And I do think it's not a bad bounce back spot for them. And they're your 2 leading goal scorers. Seguin leads the team in goals at 4. Pavelski's tied with Luke Glendening with 3, tied for second. So in terms of Proline King, your question there, I don't hate those. I don't. I think like if Dallas is going to win tonight, and you know what, I might even bet those myself if I'm on Dallas and if I know that David Riddick is in net. So I'd probably like those props more if I get that kind of confirmation prior to puck drop here tonight. Jimmy, what do you think here, Nashville, Dallas?
Well, one stat I didn't realize, guys, coming when I woke up today, but I heard on the radio today, and this might play into Terry's draw streak here. And I think I don't know if you referenced it earlier there. I was dealing with a little text here, but Dallas has not won in regulation, guys. They are yet to win a game in regulation. Only team in the NHL, so that goes in line with the draw. I'm gonna say that continues. I think maybe they win the game, but I'm gonna take the draw here and jump on the draw train with Terry.
All right, there you go. Nashville, Dallas draw. By the way, if you're looking at the draw prop, 3 of the last 5 Nashville games have gone to overtime, and 3 of the last 5 Dallas games have gone to overtime. So 3-2 to the 3-2 to overtime or a shootout for both Nashville and for Dallas in their last 5 games. So this might be a game where the draw feasibly definitely makes some sense here. Terry, what about you here, Nashville, Dallas?
Yeah, and with Jimmy, I'm on the draw as well, plus 300, as well as Predators money line. I don't like what I've seen from Dallas. I don't really think they should be favorites against many teams at all. Nashville, not a super strong team either, but the plus 130, and I think this is a close game. I think it goes to overtime, and I'm hoping the Predators get the win.
All right, we turn our attention to the final game now on this Wednesday night card. It is Terry Edelman's team, the Minnesota Wild, taking on the Arizona Coyotes. We've got Minnesota minus 200 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. And we no longer have to worry about the Arizona Coyotes going 0-82 this year in the NHL. Of course, I'm being facetious here. We know they weren't going to go 0-82. We know they were going to win some games at some point.
What about 1-81?
Yeah, maybe 1-81. You never know. That might be the only one they get there against Seattle on Saturday night, winning 5-4 in that game. Look, I think Arizona, and I don't want to say, look, all of a sudden, I would only look Minnesota here personally. But here's the one little caveat for maybe just going ahead and taking Minnesota. When you finally get that first win and you see the W next to your name, the next game you might have a little boost in energy. You have a little bit more confidence with the puck, just the little things during the course of the game that for a team that's just stuck in mud and couldn't buy a win, they finally get one. And I would expect a spirited effort from Arizona tonight. I really would. Now, whether that's going to be enough to win the game is a completely different question. But I would expect them to have a pretty solid. I mean, they finally saw guys that you want to see score goals for them, like Phil Kessel, among others, find the back of the net for them the other night in that game against the Seattle Kraken for that first win of the year. And they're going up against a Minnesota Wild team that, hasn't necessarily been shutting the door defensively in their last few games. Last 5 games for the Minnesota Wild, they've given up 4, 4, 4, 4. And the only time they didn't give up 4 goals was the Islanders on Sunday night in that 5-2 win. And we know the Islanders are a little bit more of a plotting offensive team, solid defensive team. So Minnesota has been giving up goals the last few games. So with Arizona getting that win, they get a little offensive confidence under them. Maybe that carries over a little bit. And it won't hurt that they face Kaapo Kähkönen, who, is obviously, I don't think, quite as good as Cam Talbot. And this year, he was solid, obviously, in the start that he made on Sunday against the Islanders. But still last year, the numbers were up and down. We're talking about a .860 save percentage so far this year in 2 appearances. So, maybe it's an opportunity for Arizona to find the back of the net. Minnesota certainly offensively should have some success here. Minnesota is not having trouble scoring goals right now. For them, it's been 3 straight games with 5 goals in victories against Ottawa, Pittsburgh, and the New York Islanders. And we know this Arizona team that actually was playing a little bit better defensively through the 4 games they lost prior to Seattle. They only gave up 3 goals in 2 of them and 2 goals in the other 2. So they were starting to play a little bit better at the defensive end. But this Arizona team, and Vejmelka in particular, who had a rough start to the game against Seattle and got pulled in that game, he's going to be up against it here, in my opinion, with this still very shaky Arizona back end and a Minnesota Wild team that certainly has their share of confidence again going into this game tonight. There are a couple goal score. By the way, I like the over here. 5.5 in this one at minus 120, minus 125 is the current price that we have right now. The over's 5-1 in the last 6 meetings in Arizona between these 2 teams. And, after the win for Arizona against Seattle the other night, I think we're going to see Arizona have some confidence offensively, push the attack a little bit more. Like when you see 5 goals go in, you feel good about your game a little bit offensively the next time out. So I think you're going to see that here for the Coyotes. And on the flip side, I think you'll see Minnesota do what a lot of teams have done against Arizona, find the back of the net. We're talking about a surging offensive team that has scored 5 goals now in 3 straight games. As far as goal scorer props tonight are concerned, I'm disappointed I have not been on this particular player more for Minnesota, but Ryan Hartman, 6 goals, leading the team right now in 11 games for the Minnesota Wild. We've got a couple goal scorer prop winners last night, particularly in the Vancouver game on this show. This is the one that stands out to me more than anything on the 3 games tonight. You can get Ryan Hartman in a plus 225 type of range to score a goal tonight. I think that's a good one. Ryan Hartman, the leader in goals right now for the Minnesota Wild. Andrew, what do you like here, Minnesota and Arizona?
I lean towards the over in this game. This is the game I kind of have probably the smallest opinion on, but Yeah, I don't think that the Wild are going to shut them out by any means. I feel like we're going to actually see some goals in this one. I feel like early in games, the Wild on the season so far, of a huge scale, have had a tough time having good starts to the year or to the game. So I feel like we could see maybe a close game in the first period, maybe a 1-1 end of the first, looking at a higher scoring game at the beginning, and then maybe it could settle down a little bit. But at the end of the day, if we get back to the joke you were making to start off this topic here with this game, this team just got their first win. And with every other team in the league, we always say, a team gets their first win or they break out of a slump. Usually we start backing them again. Same thing with the goal scorer. We look at that again. You taught me that, Ian. But in this spot here, to use the Conor McGregor reference, when Arizona got their first win, it was Red Panty Night in Arizona. Everybody was going home and having fun with their wives and celebrating. I don't know, man. It seems like that was probably too much of a celebration. It might be a little bit too excited off of one win. I could be making too much out of it, but to me, I feel like it'd be hard not to celebrate getting your first win of the season. Even though these guys are pros, they make millions. It doesn't matter. I mean, get that weight off your shoulder. You finally got your first win of the season. I think that it's one of those things where it's a big night for them, and it might be a letdown spot for next couple of games for them. But I still feel like they'll put some goals up against the Wild. So give me the over here.
It's kind of the way I see it. I don't know. I don't think they're winning Arizona, and I wouldn't want to back Arizona. And normally I do like to back a team after a first win or a win to snap a long losing streak, but I like to do that with better teams, like average to above average teams when they're on a losing streak and they snap it. This is still and will be still for the rest of the year one of the worst teams in the NHL, the Arizona Coyotes. So I feel completely
Ian, did I
different.
really get called a perv in the live chat for saying it's Red Panty Night? Come on, guys. Come on. It's a joke. Come on. Come on.
I've seen said a lot more controversial and more, fiery statements than that.
He said JK. He was joking.
I know.
Definitely said a lot worse than that over the years. That's for sure. Here on the Ice Guys, we've certainly had a lot more epic rants than.
I know he's just joking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we know that. Cheshire Cat just being funny. That's all right. All good. What do you think, Jimmy? Minnesota, Arizona.
Yeah, I got 2 plays in this. Neither of them on the side. I like the first period over and the over total. I think we're going to see a boatload of goals and offense in this game.
All right, so that's a first period over 1.5 and the full game over for Jimmy at 5.5 here with the Wild and the Coyotes. That's the Thursday. Now, of course, we're going to ask Terry about the Minnesota-Arizona game. Do we even have to ask what side you like in this game, Terry, Minnesota and Arizona? Do we
honestly, the day that Terry comes up and says he's taking Arizona against the Wild is the day I have a heart attack. So...
Well, your heart's going to be just fine there.
Okay.
Minnesota's absolutely dominated Arizona. So even before Arizona decided to get rid of all their players, Minnesota's 4-1 in the last 5 games, 2 trips to Arizona. All 4 wins were by 3 or more goals. They've actually won 6 straight games versus Arizona, and all 6 have been by 3 or more goals. So give me Minnesota in regulation. Give me Minnesota by 1.5. Give me Minnesota by 2.5. They're going to destroy the Coyotes tonight.
Let's go.
Minnesota has depth throughout the whole lineup. Hartman, like Ian said, he's on a line with Nico Sturm and Brandon Duhaime. So those are players that most people probably haven't heard of. But I watch Wild games so closely, right? So I see all these players. Minnesota has depth. You're going to hear "Let's Go Wild" chants all night long in Arizona. Every time the Wild goes to Arizona, all you hear is "Let's Go Wild" chants. It's like they're home away from home. This is the spot that I've been looking for, and this is the night.
Because
that was inspirational. You got me fired up with that. I feel like I just watched an old-fashioned hockey movie.
Yeah, never mind Dean Evison. Get freaking Terry Edelman in the room there and fire up the team, fire up the boys before.
You're going ice.
Before going on the ice tonight. So there you go. It's a Minnesota pile it on type of betting spot for Terry here. Minnesota in regulation, Minnesota puck line -1.5, and Minnesota -2.5. Alternative puck line, and that one is +230 on that -2.5. So That's a pretty good price there. I'll throw out a couple props. I mentioned Hartman. I leaned to Eck as well, Joel Eriksson Eck. He's been pretty solid this year. He's around plus 210. And Terry mentioned Brandon Duhaime. Keep an eye on him. He's a guy that's playing on the fourth line, but he has found a way to make an impact offensively this year. 5 points in 11 games, 2 of them goals, and plus 450. Like, he only has 2 goals in 11 games, but he's got 5 points. He goes to the areas of the ice you need to in order to score goals. So at plus 450 or so, you can get a Brandon Duhaime goal scorer prop. Might be worth a little sprinkle here on a night where we think that Minnesota might be able to find the back of the net with regularity here tonight against the Arizona Coyotes. But great stuff with Andrew McInnis, with Jimmy Murphy, and our special guest on this edition of the show, Terry Edelman. We thank all 3 of them for being here on the show today. And before we get to best bets, we've got to let everybody know about our great partners here at not only the Ice Guys, but the Hockey Podcast Network as well, that being DraftKings. And of course, they are now the official sports betting partner of the National Hockey League. And a reminder that for new customers, take advantage of the unbelievable offer to celebrate the greatest sport on ice. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. Doesn't matter if it's a one-timer, doesn't matter if it's an end-to-end rush, a 2-on-1, a deflection. However they score, you win. Now, if DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state, don't worry. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contests. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. This week, one puck in the net nets you a big win with promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older, must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app now. Sign up for an account and use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets here to wrap up this Wednesday edition of the show. For me, 4-1-1 with the last 6 best bets on the show. So we'll try to keep that run going tonight on this Wednesday slate. Andrew, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
I like goals in that Philly-Toronto game. So give me the over there, over 6. I really like the fact that Philly hasn't played for several days. Toronto off that tough loss for them. I feel like the big boys step up for both teams tonight. We'll see a fun game to watch here.
All right, there you go. Toronto and Philly over 6. Best bet for Andrew McInnis. Jimmy Murphy, what do you got for best bet?
I'm going to go with that over in the Wild Coyotes there. That will be my best bet.
All right, Minnesota, Arizona, over 5.5, minus 120. Best bet for Jimmy. And that's one of the better prices and numbers you can get on the over in that Minnesota-Arizona game is at DraftKings. And that's no BS. It actually is one of the better numbers and prices you can get if you like the over in that Minnesota-Arizona game. Terry Edelman, could the Wild be the best bet tonight? Could it be?
Yes, Wild in regulation, minus 130.
No, get out of here. Come on.
The best, safest way to go.
Shocker.
But I do like the Toronto-Philly draw, though.
Couldn't believe that. Can't believe that. Can't believe what I'm hearing right now. That Minnesota in regulation is a best bet from Terry Edelman, our biggest Minnesota Wild fan.
What clip do you have to hit draws in order to be profitable? Do you know, guys?
Well, I'm doing half units on mine, so I'm risking less, and then I'm getting paid more than I'm getting paid like what a regular unit would pay.
Right.
So,
what percentage do you guys think? Like, on average, what do you think, Ian?
Well, I would think if you get 20 to 25%, that adds up quickly. Yeah. That's all you would need. Now, you still have to pick your spots. Yeah. You know, if you, let's say you blindly take the draw in every game, you're going to be down money.
Oh,
You've got to be able to pick your spots. But if you do that and you put, good, what you want to look for is current form. Are teams playing close games? Are they not playing close games? How about recent series history? And we know in a couple of these games, Toronto, Philly, Nashville, Dallas, and we've seen those two games tonight on tonight's card in particular, where current form, they've played a lot of close games, and series history, recent meetings between the teams, there's been a lot of overtimes and shootout games. So those are things you want to look at. But if you pick your spots, looking at those kind of factors, current form, do they play close games? Series history, to the two teams head-to-head play a lot of close games that go beyond regulation? Those are I think the games, the spots you pinpoint for the draw bet.
Yeah, good stuff. They're good to bet. They're good. I like betting them in the playoffs, especially.
Yeah, they're good when they win, especially. And you get that big plus 300 or so payback with the draw when it cashes. But there we go. Great stuff. Great Wednesday show. We thank everybody for joining us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week on YouTube, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Make sure you download the podcast whenever you can't catch the Ice Guys live here on YouTube. For Andrew McInnis.
Did we get your best bet?
Oh, we didn't. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. I've done this a couple times this year. It's because I get, talking on a tangent about the draw and forget my best bet. My best bet is ditto as Jimmy's. The same one, Minnesota, Arizona, over 5.5 minus 120. That is my best bet for this Wednesday card. So yeah, there we go. 4-1-1. We'll see if we can keep the best bet streak going. Minnesota, Arizona for me, over 5.5 minus 120 for my best bet on this Wednesday card. And now that'll wrap up this show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. For Andrew McInnis, Jimmy Murphy, our special guest, Terry Edelman, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.